Welcome everybody to Mark Bajerski YouTube channel. Yeah, this is the Pure Energy Healing Academy in here. This is all on one level. There's three big rooms, and this is just one of the rooms that I do all my work with crystals, incense and oils. So it's a beautiful place. Prior to this location, which is on a magical mountain called Mijas Pueblo, M-I-J-A-S, Mijas Pueblo. It's in the Andalusian hills. It's a beautiful energy. Ley lines are all over this mountain. I think one of the reasons why I became a healer was because of that. Or should I say, the reason why I was drawn to this mountain as no such thing as coincidence. Well, yeah, it all kind of makes sense when you look back on your life, but at the time it's kind of strange how everything happens. It's funny how you really truly only understand everything when you look back on your life, in the sense of, you know, in the moment you have to trust that one day you'll be able to look back and realize what it was all about. Was it just all coincidence, or was there something in that path of yours that makes sense now? And if it makes sense, then surely there must be some kind of pre-ordained or pre-scriptured text in your soul contract, if you believe in those things. Fascinating, though. How is it that a psychic can see the future? I mean, if they can see the future, then it must be there. It must be already have been written, right? Great conversation to ask. Questions that should be a beautiful beginning of your journey. Questions. Nothing wrong with truth, and that's why you're watching today. Truth Bomb podcast with Mark Bajerski. Truth Bomb podcast, solutions, finding solutions. That's really important, and I'd just like to say that a lot of us have been trapped in this perpetual kind of MK Ultra energy, which is everywhere now. And you've got to admit that if you know what MK Ultra is, if you know what they did, if you understand how MK Ultra works, then it kind of makes sense when you look at every cell tower, every smart city, every phone, all the AI technology. It never died. Did MK Ultra ever die in the 70s and 80s? Or is it actually even bigger and more powerful than what we could imagine? I would argue the case that it is. I don't think MK Ultra died. I just think it grew beyond anybody's understanding, and 99% of humanity's proven it, because they all ran like scared children into boxes, into buildings, and did this. And I think that was the biggest MK Ultra, and so many people were involved in it, whether they knew that or they didn't. However, saying that, today is an interesting day, because I'd like to talk to you about finding solutions. Before I start talking about that, I'd just like to say, I wrote this down earlier on. I think we're all complicit to this right now, that we're listening to people that are not giving us solutions. And I find in that it's some kind of issue that we all have. Maybe we're all MK Ultra. Maybe we're just listening to people that are not giving us solutions. Are we listening to people that are not opening our minds or giving us tools to help us look within? So I'm stating here and now that I'm saying it to myself as well as you, that we should stop listening to those that are making us feel desperate or a lack of finding solutions. So if we're watching people, it's because we're looking for solutions. And I think we've all been MK Ultra'd to do the opposite. And solutions basically is exactly the same as truth, looking for truth. And if we look on the mainstream media, all we're seeing now is absolute barrage of push of the Candice Owens, and all of these people who are just basically taking us down rabbit holes that are absolutely meaningless. It's bread and circuses. It's another soap opera. It's just soap operas have gone now, and these new podcasters are the new soap opera. Telling you, smart thinking, excellent geniuses, but taking you nowhere fast after you've listened to the podcast. And also all of these little tiny memes, all these short 30-second nonsensical, meaningless dribble that everybody is now addicted to, which are the shorts. So all of these things don't provide any kind of long stay memory and utilization of what is needed to navigate through this life. Everything that you're watching now is basically comes and just disappear. It has no meaning or value, only entertainment. When you sat with real geniuses, that energy attaches to you and it changes lives. That's what you need to be looking for, not entertainment, not bread and circuses. So the bread and circus, which used to be, are you not entertained? Sorry about that, Lily. Has now become breaking news, bombshell news podcasts. So whenever you see all of that, it's time that we need to stop this now. We need to shake ourselves off and say, okay, this nonsense needs to stop. The nonsense of people telling you about, who to vote for, who to believe in. It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. It's all basically song and dance. It's theatre. It's acting. They're all actors. They're not providing anything other than just showing you moment by moment what's happening. So in theory, they are part of the problem because they have no solutions whatsoever. What I'm trying to say is that we have a choice. Today I drove down the mountain and it's been raining today. And because of my accident here, that was an accident, that there, you can't read what it says because I did it in Thailand. I wanted to cover a scar. I had an accident riding down the mountain in the wet weather on my motorbike. Fell off and smashed all my shoulder. I've got a metal plate here and pins in there. Fantastic work done by what I believe is the real reason we go to hospital. Those that mend and mend breaks, those that stitch as well. Those real reasons why the medical industry was there. Not now that it's being captured and it's being utilised as a culling station. So as I drove down the mountain, I drove down very slowly, and I turned in because I needed to. I needed to sort these out, which are my brand new crystals, which I'm just working on. Anyway, I needed to go to the office, and then I came back then, and as I'm coming back, I noticed a Jeep had toppled over down the mountain, and another car was next to them. And it looked like it wasn't a good, it looked like somebody'd hurt themselves. So without thinking, I turned up, drove, parked up, jumped out, and there was somebody injured and everybody was ringing. There was 3 or 4 people, everybody was ringing, trying to help. Anyway, everything was fine. Ambulance is there now, everything's good. Point being is the accident reminded me of something. And at the point of making a decision to drive, to turn to where the accident was, or turn the opposite way and pretend it didn't exist and it wasn't important, or maybe it was too much and out of my time and so on, it made me realize that afterwards, the choice I made wasn't because of any of those things. It was because it felt the right thing to do. And I would do that at any given moment. The point is that I think humanity now is now taking us down a dark path, and a lot of so-called influencers and so-called spiritual guides and all that are using certain ways of manipulation to send us in a different direction. What I mean by that is that people are talking about, well, let me just go off a little bit track from that. Let's just have a look at reality in itself. If I would have turned right this morning, my reality would have been the same reality as it was every day, as it is every day. Basically driving down and then heading towards Marbella and maybe having a coffee and doing maybe a video this morning and then coming back up here. That would have been my reality. But because I decided to turn the opposite direction and to see if everything's okay and see if I can help in any way, my reality changed. And now I'm in a reality where I'm witnessing an accident, somebody hurt, an angry guy who smashed his car because of that person, him shouting at them, me trying to calm it down. So now I've got a little bit of stress, or maybe a lot of stress, trying to, manage the situation in the sense of just trying to deal with it all. And I'm finding that I'm hearing that more and more people are trying to make you turn the opposite direction and forget about that. And yet when I speak to those spiritual people who say that, because they say that, the choice is yours. Do you want to be involved in that kind of, trauma, or do you want an easier life? Follow the easy path. And I always say to them, what if it was you in that Jeep and everybody did what you said? You wouldn't have been able to get out of that Jeep. Nobody would have been able to pull that seatbelt that was got you in there. You couldn't get out. What would you have done? You'd have been screaming. You'd have been praying for help. When I had this accident, I was boom on. Sorry, baby. Boom, right on the curb. I flew off and smashed my shoulder on the curb. Doof. My knees are shot, basically. I've got so many little pieces of bones in my knee, I can't go down on my knees. It hurts too much because the little splinters of them just go into my bone and my skin, and I'm in pain. I've got that many, which I never dealt with. I had to deal with this. This was more of an issue. My point being that when I smashed and I just couldn't, I got up and then I fell back down because I realised something really bad had happened. And like a miracle, people just turned up. A man and another man and then another woman, and then everybody's ringing for the ambulance, and before you know it, the ambulance is there in 2 minutes. Everybody says, are you okay? The bike gets moved to the side because it was on the floor. Everybody helped, and from that moment on, right the way to the hospital, soon as I entered into the hospital, who did I see? A woman who I'd just read for prior, a few days before, and I didn't charge her. I said, Lord, this is a gift from my heart to yours, not knowing that I would end up being, she was the head of Marbella Hospital nurse in the section where and she helped me with this, she helped me with the insurance, she helped me every step of the way. Like the stories I could tell you about how beautiful the world is, and I always find that the beauty of the world is by giving and caring and sharing. Everything that I've ever done in love has always been a beautiful flow into the very same energy. That's why I've always said that there is a saying that was the hand that gives is always full. But I believe it to be the heart that gives is always full. The hand is just an action, but the heart is the controlling energy. The heart is the consciousness. The heart is the real you. So I turned the opposite direction because I know it was the right thing to do. I followed my heart, even though, no matter what the consequences. So I don't know why I said that, but there are a lot of spiritual people now trying to guide people not to do anything. And I think they don't even realize what they're doing. So I am no different than the rest. I have to check in on myself all the time, and I look back on my life and say, did you ever make any mistakes in this spiritual field of work? And I have to ask, I question myself every day, what in those 20 years of of reading for people and helping people, do you think was anything that's caused a cause effect till this day? And I asked myself this question because, one, I don't believe in smacking. I think if you lift your hand up to a child, you've lost. Why? I've been abused and it never helped me. It never made me a better person. It just made me very, very inwards, and I run away from everything, because that's what I did as a child. I ran away from my dad who beat me, and I do this to this day. So I don't think there's any good that comes out of that. If my dad would have sat me down and said, look, son, I love you to bits. I really do. You're a very special lad. Okay. Now, when I come home, right, and I see your footprints all over the mud, that's not good, right? And the reason why is because I need to get the soil so that it's not too compact, so the buds can come through. It doesn't matter what bullshit he said, but if he'd have said something like that and said, look, what we're trying to do is grow vegetables so that we can eat every day, and if it's possible, if the ball lands in there, here's a stick, right? And this is your stick, nobody else's, son. And what I want you to do with this stick is we're going to put some at the end of it. And we're going to have like a little cap, like a rake bit. And what I want you to do is, instead of running onto it, like excited to grab your ball, I want you to get your stick and I want you to bring that. And at the same time, you're raking the soil. And maybe you might want to rake the soil a little bit more while you're doing it to say thank you and make it nice. If my dad would have said that, I think I would have turned out to be a different child. But instead, my dad didn't. My dad saw the footprint and he beat the shit out of me. And that was nearly every day. So I've grown up with this idea of, I've got 2 children, right, that I know, right? I always wonder if I'm going to get a knock on the door. Hi, I'm your daughter. You never know, you just don't know. So my 2 children, my first child I never brought up. Mark brought Nico up. Mark Oates, he was the father figure. I was, as he grew up, I just saw him on every now and again, weekends and stuff like that, if I was lucky. And yeah, I should have seen him a lot more, but that's life. And then you don't want to upset everybody. And then I had another child to somebody else with Susie, and then China came along. China, again, why would you even want to hit a child, a girl anyway, let alone a boy? Well, you don't want to hit. And so no, it wasn't even. What do you want to hit a child for? I mean, what's she done to deserve being beat? You know. Anyway, so maybe I was just lucky, but my daughter was the one to tell me off, telling me what I should and shouldn't do, and I got used to that. Like, wow, yeah, she's right. So I did say a lot of the times, and I did put it out there over the 20 years, that I think our children come here to teach us, and we should listen a little bit more. And I don't believe in spanking, and I believe that we should encourage our children, because my dad never encouraged me ever. My mum always said I was beautiful. She used to say I was she said I was a mistake. Because there was a 7-8 year gap between me and Ricky. And she would say, but you're the most beautiful mistake I ever made, right? So that was pretty. And I remember that. I thought, oh, and she was very sweet. She was very kind, very caring, very loving, but had to deal with an abusive husband, which killed her in the end of stomach cancer. But that's another story. So going back to this loving your children and saying to them, like I did, you can do and be anything you want to be. And there is no wrong or right. Whatever you do is like, even now, China will ring me up and say, Dad, I don't know what to do. What do you think? And I'll just give her I won't tell her what to do. I'll just give her choices, and I'll tell her how amazing she is, which I do believe she is. And for sure I do. I'm proud of both of them. Absolutely proud of both my children. So is it wrong to encourage your children? Then I hear in this ear, look at how the children have ended up. They all think they're gods. They think they're beyond anything, and they don't like being told what to do now. And because of people like me, we've changed our children into soft puddings that they can't defend themselves, or they're frightened of anybody saying anything because, we told them that they were perfect and wonderful, and we never told them what to do. It certainly is something that I've pondered on. If you ask me now, what do I think? Do I see a load of children who are a lot softer in life and a lot more disconnected? I would say there's a lot of disconnect in children. But I think using the fact that some of us were kind to our children and caring, and I could stand both my two children here, and then you talk to them for an hour and you ask them if there's something wrong with them, if they're soft, if they're weak, or if they think they're more important, or I would say that they're fairly balanced. So what I think they're diverting from, this is the sleight of hand that MK Ultra, which is now everywhere, is doing. They're using people like me as a great way, psychological way, to manipulate the world, because what they're not saying is actually they've ended up like this because we've been telling them that there is no gender. We've been telling them that you can be a cat. We've been telling them many things that have confused them, and at the same time we've been injecting them and we've been poisoning the water, so they're no longer male, they're turning into female because of all the poisons that they put in the foods and the waters. Just like there is, you can study this, they've found that after so long the male frogs have turned into female frogs. You've heard all of this, right? So anyway, it's a long subject. I just wanted to share that with you, that little bit of thought that you can think about today, and you can make your own mind up. But I'd like to just head back a little bit, 20 years from now. And I was 38 years old, starting a career that I've, a journey that I never realized I was going to do. And it ended up being that I was placed by a lady, these cards in my hand, a smaller version of these cards. And she asked me if I could read for a friend of hers who was in the States. And funnily enough, 90% of my clients was from the States. So I said, sure. I didn't really know what to do with them, but I started reading. She said, tell me about this guy. And I picked this card up and I said, I saw that red became really bright, and it became so bright it went to the cart. And I said, I'm paraphrasing now because it was 20 years ago. I saw this guy who was a very kind soul, and it looked like he was very abundant, very wealthy, because I could see a red Ferrari. And she nearly jumped out of her seat. Even though she was psychic, she was excited. And then I picked this card up, and I saw somebody trapped asking for help. There's a hand. You can't see it probably, but there's a hand there. And a hand was asking for help, but I said it wasn't him. It was a member of family. And then she asked me to continue. Don't stop. Please don't stop. Keep going. And she was writing everything down. And I said, it's a boy. And he's like, there's some problem in his mind, and he's not altogether there, and there's demons in his mind, and there's a lot of problems in this person's mind. And then she said, please tell me what happens to the boy. And then I turned this card over. I said, it looks like he's trapped. He's inside some kind of wall or prison. Please keep going. So I kept going, and I don't know, after that I can't remember, but I saw a big property falling down. It was the tower card, and it was collapsing, but it turned into a property, and I could see red. Anyway, it was a tower card, and I just started talking about this big building, and it was red, and it was falling down, or it's no longer there with the father. So at the end of it, I finished, and she never said anything. And a few weeks later went by, and she said, "Do you remember doing that reading?" And I said, "Yeah, kind of." She says, "I'd like to follow up and tell you some stuff." It could have been 4 weeks, it could have been 6 weeks, I don't know. But I also talked about a lot of other things, by the way. That was just a glimpse at a short story. But at the end of the reading, she asked me to leave so she could make a phone call. And that phone call now, I realised, was to the very man that I was reading for. So the man indeed had a red Ferrari, she told me. And he had a very, very big business. It was a health business which used to help people, used to sell a natural product. And I believe it had honey in it, and it had other things in that my mentor told her to mix together, because she had a PhD in all sorts of science. She was a biologist as well. So it was all to do with, what was it called now? What's it called? Gosh, what's the second or third most common illness when your sugar level goes up? Diabetes. So it was a natural diabetes. When you ate it, your diabetes would go away. Okay, so that was his business. Anyway, the police had gone round to his son's house and found lots of pornographic images in his computer. Not lots, but hundreds of thousands. The son was arrested and put into prison, awaiting a trial. I didn't know any of this, but what was about to happen? I also said that the red Ferrari would be taken away. He's gone, and that's exactly what happened. His Ferrari sold, his business sold, all to pay for his son's prosecution, to be able to help him. Anyway, at the end of the day, that was my first ever reading with them cards. The point being is, the first ever reading when I listened to that story was a fairly traumatic story. It wasn't a light-hearted story. It was a challenging story, and it was a heartbreaking story for the father to have to know that his child was basically a paedophile. When I started doing readings in my healing room for the first time, I used to do them in a little shop, open shop, so it was different. It was all lighter stuff, and it was more gentle. And that's when I used to do angel card readings. When I started reading these was when I started in Tickle Pink upstairs, when I was doing it full on, in the sense of I was getting paid for it this time, instead of doing it free of charge for a couple of years. So one of my first clients that became a long-lasting client was a lovely man, but had a lot of inner demons. And he spent a lot of time here and there trying to find himself. And one day, after giving a reading and healing, I clearly saw some traumatic, let's say, evil that had happened to him, pure evil. And I found it strange, because what I was looking at was almost like a ritual being done on him with people with a certain cloth. And I'm like, do you want me to be honest, or do you want me to hold back. Do you want me to tell you what I'm seeing? So I told him, I said, I see abuse. I see people holding you down and hurting you. And he started crying. And the tears didn't stop for about an hour. And I had to stop because I knew I'd touched upon something that was deeply raw. Anyway, at the end of it, I gave him a healing session while he was crying. I said, look, let's do a healing session. And I spent about an hour giving him healing. And thereafter, I knew him for about 12 years. And he used to come regularly because his life was painful. He's been through a lot of pain. And that particular story was one of many. So some people do go through a lot. I mean, a lot. And he'd gone to various places to find his peace, and he found one here in Spain, which was a Buddhist temple. And he went there for solace and for healing and to heal himself through the suffering that he'd been through as a child. And one night, while he was in the Buddhist monastery, 4 Buddhists, priests, monks, had come into his room and viciously raped him one by one. There was times that I would go to work with a smile on my face, and there was times that I'd go to work feeling very numb and raw. And my family used to look at me and see me from joy to sometimes very, very deep sadness. And they would know that what I'd been through that day, what I've had to listen to and endure and help, wasn't something that I would want to talk about. And I didn't. I came across maybe 20 or 30 extreme cases, those that came from Belgium, those that came from America, those that came from the UK. And you can understand that being a psychic healer, there's nobody that these people who have been through such traumatic suffering on a satanic level, that no priest, they wouldn't even want to go to a priest. No law, no police would want to touch, because all of that is all protected, and they know this. So there's nobody really they can talk to. And 20 years ago was only the beginning of things just starting to come out in my world that I never saw before. So my point being is that those that came to tell me their story after I gave them a reading would tell me the story about their childhood trauma of being raped, and groomed and raped and tortured and raped in satanic cults, many cults. So I got probably the worst of what life was. I was put into a place where I just wanted to give nice happiness and joy, and I would be getting a lot of pain coming in from people that were sharing their pain with me. I found that after a certain point, and it might have been about, I would say, 3 years after doing the readings and healings, that I started to cut off wanting to know anymore, because I didn't feel that was helping. The discussion wasn't really helping, but I found that the healing was, and the psychic readings were. And I found that I started molding my readings into knowing that anybody who's coming to me has probably suffered very greatly. So that's a kind of like a knowing. I just know that they're coming to me because a lot of them have gone through, rape or whatever it may be, the worst kind of suffering. So I don't need to know that, Mark. I don't need to know. They don't need to know. They already know this. But what if I try and find the answers? And this is why I'm making this today, because there's a story here that might resonate with you. To talk about things like this, I realized, wasn't really the answer per se, but the healing And finding the answers rather than bringing them back to where they were didn't really make any difference. So if we look at life right now of what we've been through 4 years, is it making any difference really to the fact that people have gone through a satanic ritual abuse and now they're filled with, stuff that they wish they'd never done, and what's important is to try to find the answers, the healing, the cleansing, the detoxing, right? So I guess what I'm saying is that the reason why I started to just say, look, I don't need to know this. What we need to do is find solutions. And that's why I wrote here, finding solutions. And I don't get it right every time. In fact, I probably get it wrong more because I end up being pulled into that negativity. But I think I try to help people who listen to my channel think about things. And I hope from thinking about it to looking for the answers, because after reading for thousands of people over the years, I found that the ones that healed themselves found the answer within themselves. Not the healer, not a psychologist or a psychotherapist. It's you who finds the answer. And I think that's the only way forward right now. I believe the only answer right now is for you to tune in, to tap into your higher self. And I think that's the hardest part. And I think a lot of the times when a lot of us start to talk about things that are kind of really boring now, like please try and drink fresh water. There's a reason why I say it. And I'm talking about real health water and not in plastic. I know it's boring. I know I've heard it a million times, but the little things like that, there's a reason for it. When I say that, try and find organic fruit. I know it's more expensive and it's a challenge, but there's a reason for it. And I'm not just saying it because it's clickbait. I've said it for a long time now. It's important that we go into Mother Nature. I know it's boring, everybody says it, but maybe there's a reason why it's said. Going inside and listening for the answer. I know it's a cliche and you're going to say, I don't know what the friggin' hell you're talking about, Mark. How do I do that? There's a reason why we need to learn to breathe. There's a reason why we need to learn to still our mind, tell our mind to shut up. And everything that I've tried to share with you over the years, I actually believe, look back and sit here and now look at the 20 years and wow, now I see why I said all of that. Might have not have meant as much as it does now. Strange. Why did I say all them things and say it and say it and say it? And now I realize how powerful all of that was and still is to this day. And it is powerful for you. It's not powerful. I'm not the one who said it. It's channeled message. It's channeled. So I'm not the guru. I'm not the answer to anything. I'm not the message. I'm just somebody who gives you the message from experience through clients and channeling this energy that is needed. And some things which don't cost anything are the most powerful. And it's true. The things that are free are so worth their weight in gold. We've got a sea down there. The sea is beautiful for you. It's healing. Mother Nature, the trees, the flowers. And then when you eat the roots, and there's so much in Mother Nature that she offers us, which is an answer to everything, especially to our medication. She has everything that we need. That's why everything that grows is purposely growing for you. So finding solutions to daily life right now is really important. And finding them solutions not outside per se, but inside. If people jog your memory, if people jog your spiritual memory, if people start to help you awaken to the connection that you should have, then I'm all for that. If anybody tells you what to do and all you do is just follow them like a sheep, then I'm not for that at all. I'm for opening discussions in your brain to your consciousness. I'd like to ask you a question, by the way. When you're driving your car, or you're on the bus, or you're in somebody else's car, or you're just going for a walk, do you ever talk to yourself in the sense of you'll see something and then start having a chat inside? There's no physical words, but you're just having a chat. And you're having a debate. Do you ever do that? Do you ever debate yourself? Do you ever question yourself? I mean, who are you questioning? Well, that's quite easy in my understanding. That's called your brain, which is a computer which talks to you through all its experience of however old you are and however much input you've experienced to your consciousness. So your consciousness is who you are. The spacesuit is just giving you information, what you've learned and studied, okay? And that's just giving you the, and then your consciousness kicks in and then starts to say, well, what about this? And what about if that happens? I believe right now that there was, and there always has been, a spiritual battle, a war against our consciousness, our soul. That's the spiritual battle. They wanted us to stop communicating and have that conversation. So I've met people now and I've asked questions to them. Do you have that internal conversation? To which, frighteningly, I've heard, no, I don't. And then I followed through and said, did you have an injection? And they said, yes, I did. I had 3 or I had 4. They have no more internal conversation. The consciousness isn't speaking, but the brain is. And now that we know what they were planning and what they've always been trying to do, in and amongst everything else, which is change our bodies into some kind of electrical frequency that they want to disturb. I know you're all going to tell me that our bodies is already an aerial and antenna, but what if I was to tell you that that antenna is no longer at the hertz or the frequency that it's meant to be? Not only has the water poisoned us, that's changed that frequency. The food that we eat, which is not food, non-food, has changed that frequency. The bullshit lies and manipulations from the black screen, the Hollywood lies, the MK Ultra brainwashing, everything that has been done to us via a massive global network now of frequencies that has disrupted us so we can't sleep. Our body clocks, all the body clocks are not functioning properly anymore, which means we're struggling to sleep because the body clock doesn't know what to do, because it has not got that frequency that it should be there, that Mother Earth gives us, because well, you can see they're messing with everything. We're on the phone all day. We're on our phone all day. That's messing with our body clocks. And every body clock, that's your food body clock. We have body clocks all over the body that balances all the time. But once they're out, that's it. So lots of shit happens. Body clocks up here as well. Lots of up there. That's why a lot of people are all messed up. So we need to look at frequency. We need to look at ways of changing our frequency back. And we have Mother Nature to help us with that. That's the sun, because that helps the frequency in our body. Mother Earth, she still helps us. Sitting by a tree still helps. I mean, the frequency of crystals which are underground is part of that frequency. And I just so happen to like crystals, and I get attacked all the time saying, well, you're just as bad as everybody else. You're taking them from the ground. And yeah, you might be right. I might be as bad as everybody else, but I don't dig them up. But yes, you're right. I do buy them because I like to wear them, because I feel that my body is vibrating at a better frequency depending on what crystal I'm wearing. So when I die, this crystal, it ain't going to just disappear. It's going to go into Mother Earth. It's going to be here. It's never going to go anywhere. It's always going to be on this planet. So it's not like I'm taking it and putting it out into space, so it never stays here again. I could argue all day with that, but I know that crystals have helped my clients. I've seen it with my own eyes, thousands. So there's always haters. There's always haters, and there's always people to say, yeah, but. And to a degree, everybody's right. But you can only do what you can do. So I use oils by Mother Nature. So I try and get the most purest oil via Mother Nature. So whatever flower or plant or fruit, whatever it may be that I can find that's going to help the physical body, I work with oils, and I sell oils because people like to buy oils. And I look at it this way: if you buy one of my oils, at least you know it's genuine and it comes from a beautiful source, and it's not made by people who don't give a shit about making the oils, and they're just pumping them out, and the big manufacturing companies that are making millions a year. No, mine are basically all worked on by my hands, and I put them all into bottles, and I put Pure Energy Heal into them. And I know that, well, at least you're getting something which is genuine, no bullshit. Some people have to wait till I have special offers on. In fact, I'll do one now. I'm going to put all my oils on special offer right now. I'm going to send a message to the office. So I'm going to put them on at cost price, what it costs me. So you'll get them by free DHL, and they'll come. Don't buy it yet. Wait till I get it. Wait till I put the post up. But I'll do it for 120. So you'll get it free DHL worldwide, which is anywhere between like 29 now and 37. So you're getting all my oils, which are normally about €300. So I'm going to do that as a thank you, and just to show you how much I love you and care. So I'll do that. I'm also going to do a special offer with a Tektite. If you buy a Tektite from my website, any size, wherever you buy the Tektite, I'll put another one equal to the same price in. Why? Because my Tektites are probably one of the most important crystals to wear now for people holding onto negative energy. And there are a lot of people holding onto negative energy right now, and it's sitting on the stomach, and people are getting sick. A lot of people are getting sick in the stomach, and you need a crystal to absorb that negative energy. So yeah. So I'm going to do that as well, as I'm just speaking. But anyway, by the by, as I look at life right now, the solutions are what's important, not the problem. And I can hold my hand up and say I'm guilty to talking to you about the problem, but I am, and I do try my best to bring solution to the world as much as I can. I try and point out certain things that I'm frightened of that somebody might hurt themselves. So I'll give you a great example. My daughter used to say to me, "What, Dad, it's okay. Don't be frightened. It's all right, Dad. Don't worry." And I'm like, well, I do worry, darling. And the reason why I worry is because I know what happens and you don't. And I said, like, I'm a healer and a psychic. So I normally get people at the worst possible place, whereas the hospital can't help anymore, and neither can psychiatrists and doctors and police. So I normally get, I get to see firsthand what happens. And, when you're going into Fuengirola down the road with your friends, which is a few years ago, and you're going to go out to drink, I said, please, darling, whatever you do, don't take your eye off your drink. Or if possible, try and get a drink with with a screw top and just open it and drink. If you have to, drink alcohol, just get some up with a screw top. And she asked why. I says, because men from all over the place now are dropping in tablets into your drink, and you become so, like, you don't know where you're going, you don't know who you are. Yeah, but I'm with friends, and I know you are. But I also know that if all three of you split up, or if you all get drugged, it's not a good ending. Or if anybody steals your bag, please don't chase them. Don't run after them. Oh, Dad, why not? I'm strong. Because I don't want you to. Why is that? Why? Because I used to have to deal with young girls who were raped. And there's many occasions where there were girls raped because somebody stole something and they chased after them in the dark on the beach. And then the assailant, the monster, stopped. And then 2 or 3 more monsters were there and then raped that girl. My point being, I know this doesn't sound an uplifting video, but the point I'm trying to make is that I saw things that most people don't even know, never even heard. It was never something that was talked about or ever put on the news, because that would be bad news, so people wouldn't come to the Costa del Sol. So my conversation with you guys sometimes is a little bit heavy. I hold my hand up. You're right, it is. And I always come back to this guy who came from India, and he wasn't Indian. He was half American, half, when I say American, I mean real American, Native American. Really good looking guy, in his 60s. And I'm talking about America, Native American. And I think his father was Native American and his mother was Portuguese, something like that. He's died now. Lovely, lovely, lovely energy. Knew a lot of people. Back then, this was 20 years ago, I knew a lot of people. I read for him, gave him healings a few times, and then he went. But I always remember the conversation. We sat at Barpuras, and he said to me, "You've got 2 paths you can walk, Mark." And I'm like, "Oh, right." He said, "The first path is the easy one, and most people take that. And the second path is a lot more challenging." And he says, "And I hope you take the second path." And I said, "What's that?" And at that time, there wasn't really much, I didn't really understand him. Now I get it completely. And the first path is to just send love and light. Never talk about anything negative. Always talk about love and light. Always talk about the good things. It says, always avoiding any topic which is challenging or difficult. Always go with the narrative. Always go with the easy thing, what everybody's talking about, in the sense of, avoiding certain things. Or your second option is to be honest and truthful. And he said, and unfortunately, that is the most challenging path, because you will lose your family, you'll lose your friends, you will never become popular. You will always be pushed down to the ground. You will always be attacked by demonic energy. He says, but I hope you choose the harder path, but the choice is yours. And I didn't really understand what he was saying. I'm like, it didn't really make any sense, because 20 years ago, it wasn't like it is now. So I look back and think, I'm glad I've taken this path. Yeah, I don't have 6 million followers. I'm not a guru that talks about love and light. I don't write books all the time about, what people want to hear. So I can sleep well on a night. I sleep well on a night. I really do sleep well on a night. I don't have fear or worry or what I should and shouldn't have done. I do know that I've upset a lot of people, by speaking this way. But I also know that I've helped through my messages daily, that people have thanked me for being honest and truthful, and they acknowledge that they know it wasn't easy, and they know, a lot of people say, we know that you've taken the most challenging path, just like many of you have as well, because you've probably lost your family, your brothers and sisters, mum and dad, in the sense of that they think you're crazy and there's something wrong with you and they don't want to know you anymore, and you might have lost partners, or you just might be deemed, as all your friends think you're just fucking stupid or whatever. And I feel for everybody who's speaks the truth, because now if you speak lies, and if you speak evil, and if you support evil, you're put on a pedestal. You will be pushed up to the highest level of awareness. So if I started getting extremely popular, I would start to worry, and I'd be thinking, what am I saying that I'm doing wrong? And that's a good place to be, Mark, and a good place for you to be. The world is changing for sure. People are becoming more aware of things. I do believe that you're either the type of person like you are, or you're the type of person that has no real conversation inside, but just simply of a mindset. So you work from computer information of past. So I believe there's two types of people now. There's a lot to be said about the incubating children. Remember, people have talked about this for a while now. It's becoming more popular. So way back when all these babies were just suddenly pulled out of all these incubators, that's one of the reasons why we have NPCs and so on. There's loads of interesting conversations to be had about all of these things. But my main topic of conversation is why we are pulled down and why we are attacked. And the more we see it, and the more we step out of that bubble of ego or fear or worry, the more we realize that this is absolutely confirmation that we're on the right path, that we are speaking the truth of why we're here and our path and journey. What is our path? Why are we here? What is your purpose? Maybe all of the bad things that happen to us, the attacks, the mock, the ridicule, at the point of when we leave this world, maybe we'll see it as not only confirmation that we were doing the right thing, but that was a little message. That was a little heads up. That was a little reminder that, wow, you are on the right path. So let's try and see it that way if we can from time to time. With regards to finding the answers within, that can only be done with time and effort. If everything was so easy, then this world would change in a moment. Sometimes we have to meditate a little bit more. Sometimes we have to go through certain things to get to the realization of why we're here. So I guess I just want to leave you on a note, close my eyes, give you a card today. And always an interesting card. This is the card of abundance, but the card of abundance to me isn't about wealth, it's about knowledge. And whenever I see a key, it normally means you're opening the door to your heart, which means that is your full consciousness, the real you, the soul, the spirit. That is you, that never dies. So you're becoming stronger in knowledge and wisdom because of the connection of your consciousness. So, as Mother Earth is showing me, stand on Mother Earth often, walk on her sand, feel her crystals in your hand as you hold the sand, which is Mother Earth's crystals. And take your time to listen to her whispers and message. For within the moment of silence, you will receive the download through your connection. So I guess what I'm hearing is, if we want to truly understand why we're here, what we're doing here, what the message is, then we have to have a direct line to our consciousness and to the flow of the source of where we come from. And that really, in my humble opinion, can only be when we clear the clutter from our minds. And the best way to clear clutter is to go into Mother Nature and let her speak to you. She might not speak to you that day, she might not speak to you that week or that month. But if you keep doing it, you become so balanced in her energy that one day, just maybe, she will just flow her truth, her desires, her needs. Mother Nature will tell you what she needs, what she wants to help you with, as the long lost healers did, which were predominantly women who never knew anything until they saw through Mother Nature and her animal kingdom, and she smelt because she had a different sense to you. So the healers that taught us everything that we've lost, maybe, just maybe, we need to become the healers again, and we need to listen. And when I say listen, listen to the right people. Listen to Mother Nature. Listen to your consciousness. I'm wishing you a lovely day from my heart to yours. Lily has been top dog today. She's been a beautiful girl today, haven't you? My little angel, I love you to bits. You are. Oh, yes, she's bored. Are you bored, babes? You want to sit back down there? Yeah, she said, let me sit there. So, yeah. That's it. I don't know if we've had any really bad people on today, nasty people, but we just ignore them, hopefully. Not so much. I do wish you all a lovely day. I guess I should just end off with saying, have you got any questions? Maybe I can try and, I don't know if I can answer them, but maybe there might be something that you might want to ask me. That sounds a bit too egoistic, doesn't it? Just anything that you've been pondering in your mind that maybe we can just look at for 5 minutes instead of me just running off as I do. Beautiful girl. I have to take her out in a minute. Thank you so much. Peace upon you all. Mars in Cancer. I have no idea what that is. I'm sure it's something lovely. Thanks, guys. My love to you all. Love to you back. Big hugs. There's so many things, Paul, that are now people are a lot more. I don't have the answer to that, but for me, what I used at the beginning, people are now starting to use, which is horsetail. And that was channeled by, I came up with a horse's head, and then I think it was Richard Arnold or somebody like that, I can't remember, sorry if I got it wrong, said, could it be horsetail? And I went, yes! And now they're now talking about horsetail, which is a natural form of nicotine. And apparently, if you remember back then, people were smoking and saying that it's actually helping them through it. So really interesting. Also, anyway, so I don't sell it anymore, so I can't say. I used to sell teas that I channeled to try and help people, but there's a lot of information out there, and I'm not really somebody who is a doctor, so I don't really have the answers to that. Let me just click on somebody and just let's read this. Let's read this together. Thanks for your question. If we are created by our past, well, I don't think we're created by our past. If I don't. I think that we've. I don't actually believe, and I don't really truly understand this wholeheartedly. But have we always been here, or have we been created? I don't think we've been created. If you're talking about the body, that's different. But spiritually, I think we come from a place there is no space and time. So it's always been. There wasn't, I don't believe in this idea of the Big Bang and then we were just created. Maybe this planet was, or I don't know. I'm talking about the consciousness. When I read this, I don't believe I think, anyway, let me just continue reading. Then how? I don't really truly understand what you're saying, to be fair. I mean, I don't really get it. You're talking about a physical level of being abused. I mean, I've met so many people who've been abused in so many different ways. I was abused really badly. And of course, it's part of the journey where we look back and we would ask ourselves why we would go through that. And I don't have the answer to that. All I know is how I've behaved thereafter and what I became thereafter. And there are so many explanations of why we've been abused, and one right now is becoming so big, and everybody's latching onto that. And I think that in itself is I don't know whether we're able to break free from that belief system, which is that this is a planet which is an enslaved planet, and then we're all used for our energy. So they abuse us all the time and they feed from that. The only problem with that is that if we just constantly believe that, there doesn't seem to be a way out of healing from that. I think it's a bit like, if you walk into the light, it's a trap, and then you're going to come straight back here to be abused again. And again, I struggle with that. I mean, I know this is going to be a bad example, but let's just look at it and just talk about it, okay? I'm all of a sudden going to get 1,000 haters on again because I talk about this, but why can't you talk about a subject? Who says I'm right? I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just telling you what I know and feel. But let's just have a look at this while we're talking about that. Always comes up for me. Here we go.
Zachary, what did you see?
Oh, I saw these line of white angels, and the middle of them was the prettiest of them all. And I didn't know who it was first until they got closer to me. And then I realized that Jesus.
What did he look
Jesus.
like?
He had kind of long, ruffled hair, no beard, really. But he looked so healthy and fit.
Did you see anything else?
Yeah. No. He put his hand on my shoulder and said, "I'll be all right."
Zachary, what did you...
Well, first of all, I don't know whether that's fake. Nobody knows anymore. Everything's fake on the internet. But the point being with this message is actually a very true message. Why? Because I have met people who have met God or Jesus or their maker and have died and come back to life. I've read for many of them. And the story has always been very, very similar. And the tears and the joy and the love that they feel from their maker is incredible. My point about this video is, how is it possible, if you've ever been in a room, in a bedroom, in a church, in an old building, in a graveyard or somewhere like that, have you ever been or messed with the Ouija board or anything demonic? Have you ever felt that energy of love and healing like this? Whether that's real or not, I know that's how people feel when they meet their maker or their family in spirit. That feeling of joy, that feeling that just, you can't, it's so high in vibration. It's such an energy of love. You ever felt that when you're in a vicinity of demonic, dark, trapped spirit, entity, and so on? Have you ever felt that? Have you ever felt that? No. You felt deceived. You felt something's wrong. Your consciousness is saying, no, something's wrong. Something's wrong here. This is a bad energy, right? So what I get frustrated with, what upsets me, is when people are saying that this white light that is so beautiful and all of these, because what David Icke and the so on wrote about, and many shamans talk about this false light, and all the family there and all these, they're saying that they're demons. I have never felt a demonic energy feeling wonderful and inspiring to be able to fool me into believing that energy. My consciousness knows better. It's far more stronger. Like the Ikes say, our consciousness is all-seeing, all-knowing, never-ending. Absolutely. That bit I completely agree with. And there's no way I can be fooled by a demonic energy or entity that presents itself as Jesus to be Jesus, because I will know the difference and I will feel it, because Jesus, in whatever form you call it, is a higher energy or part of our home world, spirit world, or source or God energy, is going to make me feel the energy of healing. The energy of darkness sucks your energy. It makes you feel bad instantly because you are alerted from your consciousness to tell you this is wrong, this is bad. So anyway, I could talk about this, but nobody cares to challenge me. Nobody wants to talk to me about it. Even though I've tried to talk to them and say, please, let's talk, they keep giving me excuses. So fair enough, don't talk. But yeah, I find it interesting. But back to your... Look, I at the end of the day, right, I trust my gut feeling. Do you? If you don't, then there's something wrong. You need to figure that out. I trust my gut feeling. And not saying every time I'm right, but most times, wow, I look back and think, Jesus Christ, if I'd have just listened to what I felt at that very moment before I went with my head instead of my consciousness, or you would call heart. And that's why I say to many people say to me, I followed my heart. And I would say, I would wager that you followed your head, not your heart. Because if you'd have followed your consciousness, it would have told you exactly what to do, because your consciousness is who you are. And that is that what tries to direct you. So there you go. Sorry I didn't answer your question, but you know, it's a cliche now to say that we come here to feel pain and to grow. It's a cliche. I don't even like saying it anymore because it's attacked. It's attacked every day now. But, you know, everything that's good is attacked now. And I've noticed everything that seems to be inside out, wrong way around, inverted. So anything that's publicized and pumped now, I'm like, nope, that is deliberate. So now is the time to discern and know thyself. And if you don't know yourself, you're not going to know what's going on outside neither. Best of luck to you all. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now. Love you all. Take care. Ciao, ciao.